How's it going, y'all? Ryan De La Garza here, and this is another Desmos build along. And in this video, I want to look at a simple question like this with a math input and talk through some ways that we can kind of beef up what this question can do. So let's dive in and see what it does just initially. So here I want to use mental math to find the product of 25 times 120. Now I'm doing this in my head. 25 times 100 is 2500. 25 times 2 would be 50, but it's a 20, so let's make it 500. So I know that's 3,000, right? And then I can submit, and I get this great explain your thinking, which I love. Desmos has that on there, so we can kind of really extend and push beyond just the initial question. But there's some problems with this, right? First of all, if I'm a student and I kind of figure this out, I can type that in, and I have my answer right there. And I've kind of cut the corners, and now I've kind of taken away what I really wanted to do. So we can actually turn that off. So let's jump in, and I'm going to turn off the calculator first. We're going to come into our computation layer for the math input, and I'm going to use a sync called disable evaluation. And I'm just going to mark that as true. So let me zoom in and show you what we did here. So the sync is disable evaluation. This is true on the math input. There's also a version of this for table, and I believe off the top of my head, I think it's just cell disable evaluation or disable cell evaluation. The word cell's in there somewhere. But it turns off the calculator when it's marked true. So if you do disable evaluation true, it's going to turn off the calculator. That way they can't use that Desmos calculation feature. So check it out now. If I come in and do 25 times 120, I get nothing. And I'm on my own, which is perfect because I want that mental math aspect here. So a handy trick already, disable evaluation true will turn off the calculator. Now, what if I'm a student and I was like, mental math, you took away my calculator? I don't know, IDK, submit, explain, and now move past. Well, what if I don't want that, right? I don't want them to be able to put in, letters or mumbo jumbo and get anything out, right? I want something kind of in there. So we can actually make sure that the number has to make sense, and it has to be a number before they can actually submit. So let's jump in and see what that would look like. Here what I'm going to use is the error message sync. And what I'm going to say is that when when I say this numeric value, so I want to look at the number in this sync, is undefined, I want to display a message. I'm going to say this may not be a number, right? Otherwise, if it is a number, I'm just going to leave it blank. So let's zoom in and let me show you what we did here. So I'm creating an error message. Again, this is for the math input. There's also one for the table, and it's cell error message, and we can do the same thing. And I want to say when this number, so when the number that is in this input is undefined, so that means it does not have a value, aka letters, words, things like that. I want to display this message. This may not be a number. Otherwise, I'm leaving it blank. So if it's that double quote, that's just going to say there's no message whatsoever, and we're just going to let it ride. So let's see what this looks like. If I come back here, let me preview. If I do that same IDK, notice I can't submit and explain, and I get a little error message that says, hey, this may not be a number. So now I've disabled the ability to put in letters, words, things like that. Okay, so that's something we can do. Now you may still have kids who put in like 0. You can add conditions to that, where if this is less than a certain number or greater than a certain number, you can change that. And you can continue to put when conditionals in there and add all types of different error messages to these statements, depending on how interesting you want to go. Now, the last piece, right? So I've put in my 3,000. Explain your thinking. That's great. Already, we're moving so far beyond just a paper and pencil. But we can do more, right? We can ask specific questions. This is a mental math question, right? So I want to know, how did they approach this? Did they do 25 times 4? Did they to get to 100 and then move up from there? Like, what different pathways did they take? So what I'm going to come and do is I'm going to use the explainPrompt sync. And I'm going to say, okay, great. Boom. Tell me about the process you use to arrive at this answer, right? So now, let me show you what I did here. I use the sync explainPrompt, and what that does is allows you to change that explain your thinking prompt. And so we changed it to, okay, great, tell me about the process you used to arrive at this answer. So let's check out what this looks like now. So if I hit done and I hit preview, I type in my 3,000, and now, whoa, so much more interesting, right? Tell me about the process you arrived at this answer. So now I can really dive into that. I can ask real specific questions about what students has. I'm going to take it one step further though. I want to bring in this number. I want to take what they put and bring it into that explain prompt. So check out what we're going to do here. Instead of at this answer, we're going to change at this answer. I'm going to do $ open curly, and I'm going to say this dot numeric value close curly bracket. So anytime, let me zoom in so you can see this here. Anytime we use the $ curly brackets, that's saying I want to jump out of the text and I want to create a dynamic variable, something that can change and something that's going to come from somewhere else. So you can pull graph numbers, table numbers, input values, input text. You can pull anything you want from somewhere else and drop it into a line of text using the $ squiggly brackets. And that's true in the computation layer. It's also true in graphs if you're doing it for like a point label. So you can use this same idea for a point label graph. So what this is going to do is this is going to replace this section with the value that they entered in input, right? So let's check it out. So if I come back, I preview, I say, okay, it's 3,000. Okay, great. Tell me about the process you used to arrive at 3,000. Now I'm seeing my answer inputted in here. So much more of a personal experience, right? And we're getting to kind of interact and extend thinking in that way, right? So it's providing that little bit of student interaction, which I think personally in this kind of asynchronous digital environment gives it a little bit more of that in-classroom feel, right? Instead of just a generic canned response, you're giving them something specific. You're using their answer just like you would if you were in a classroom. So I think this is a great tip that you can bring in and add to your activities, like I said, just to step it up a little bit more. So like always with the build-alongs, that first screen, if you want to, if you've been building along, sorry I didn't mention it at the beginning, I got so excited in this. You can build along on the first screen with this one. If you have any questions or you want to see more, you can drop those in the comments below. And if you have any other things you'd like me to go over or cover, just please let me know. I'm here to help y'all out as much as I can. So thank y'all for watching and happy Desmos.